Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unconfirmed, the podcast that reveals how the marquee names in crypto are reacting to the week's top headlines and gets the inside scoop on what they see on the horizon. I'm your host, Laura Shin.
CipherTrace cutting-edge cryptocurrency intelligence powers anti-money laundering, blockchain analytics, and threat intel. Leading exchanges, virtual currency businesses, banks, and regulators themselves use CipherTrace to comply with regulation and to monitor compliance.
Crypto.com. Get their app and buy crypto at true cost with no fees or markups. Get a metal MCO Visa card with up to 5% back on all your spending. Want more? Download the Crypto.com app today. eToro is one of the largest trading platforms in the world, with over $1 trillion in trading volume on the platform per year. U.S. customers can trade the most popular crypto assets with transparent fees. Create an account today at eToro.com. That's eToro.com. Today's guest is Alex Adelman, co-founder and CEO of Lalli. Welcome, Alex.
Hey, thanks for having me.
The day that the show will come out is Black Friday, so I figured it's as good a time as any for people to learn about your service. What is Lalli?
Lalli is an easy way for people to earn free Bitcoin when they shop online. So Black Friday is the perfect day to tell that to people.
And how does it work?
So we partner with top merchants like Walmart, Priceline, Booking.com, companies like that. And they pay us when our users shop their sites. And then we send that payment and share that with our users, sending Bitcoin to their Lalli wallet.
And who are some of the stores that you have as partners?
We have a lot. So we have over 750 partners, and we just launched a little over a year ago. And so, everyone from Walmart, Harry's, a lot of travel partners like Priceline, Hotels.com, Booking.com. Yeah, people can shop for just about any category. Grocery is really big for us as well. But we've been working really hard to secure as many merchant partnerships as possible. And I think to this day, we have probably more merchant partners than any other Bitcoin or crypto company, major merchants at least. We're just really trying to lead the way in mass adoption of Bitcoin.
And percentage-wise, how much can people earn back?
So our average percent across all merchants is 7%, but people can earn upwards of 45%, I believe is the highest as of today. So you can earn a serious amount back. It's not like credit card points or anything like that. We have these direct partnerships with these merchants, and we negotiate these rates. And because of the nature of our relationships, really what they're paying for is they're looking to attract new customers. So we're able to negotiate high rates and really pass back the margins to the consumers that maybe want to shop somewhere and earn Bitcoin instead of any sort of other incentive mechanism. And so it's free found money, and we work really hard to bring that to our users.
How many users do you have at this point?
We're not sharing the exact number yet, but in the high tens of thousands.
And you launched in August 2018, so I guess that's pretty good traction. And how much have your customers earned in Bitcoin so far?
So the average just passed $30 for the average shopper across all wallets. So the thing that I think is really interesting about Lalli is the activity. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that we have the most active Bitcoin wallet today because it's not just a wallet that people are sending back and forth. They're actually earning actively. So every time they make a purchase, it becomes an active Bitcoin wallet. So it's a lot of transactions leading up to the average of $30. And clearly, we have whales, on the platform that are earning a lot more than $30. But it's a lot of Satoshis to add up to $30 as being the average Bitcoin back. And then also a lot of our users have come on in the last few months leading up to the holidays and our exponential growth over the last few months.
What percentage of your users cash back out to USD, and what percentage holds their Bitcoins?
That's a great question. So the vast majority never take it out to cash. I actually have been surprised with how many people don't take out cash. So we do, you can transfer to any Bitcoin wallet, any Bitcoin exchange that you want. We'll actually teach you how to do it because I really want to teach people about cold storage. I want to teach people about, paper wallets and best ways to practice safety with their storage. So you can transfer to any address, but you can, as you mentioned, transfer out to US dollar to any US bank account as of today. The interesting thing is it's been so few people that have used the USD transfer. I think people, they have the choice that they either use Ebates for cash back or they use us for Bitcoin back or Sats back. So they make the decision. So if they were going to use Ebates, they would just take the cash. If they were going to use us, they can get free Bitcoin.
And so what percentage just keep it in Lalli versus transferring it to their own wallet?
The vast majority keep it in Lalli. I think that we're sort of part of a Bitcoin education company and part of Bitcoin rewards company. And I think it's important, we have to constantly remind ourselves of that because it's so important that we think that we're nearing 50% of our users have never had Bitcoin before and that we're their first wallet, which is really exciting. And there's, I think that we get a lot of questions about, okay, what do I do with it now that I have like $5 in Bitcoin or $10 in Bitcoin? And the honest answer is we want people to hold it for now. I think that Bitcoin is not at a point where it should be spent. In my opinion, I think it's not a medium of exchange yet. It's a store of value, and Lalli works as a way of found, a business model to create found money for our users and encourage them to hold on to it. Because since we launched, Bitcoin was at 3,600 a little over a year ago, and it's since doubled, actually more than doubled in some cases. So our users have earned 2 times the amount of what an Ebates has or any other cashback company because they held. The ones that sold, as any of us sold when we bought Bitcoin, you're sort of quickly discouraged to do that because you see the price historically go up.
And how did you come up with the idea for Lalli?
I guess it's like with any idea, it's never one thing, and I'll be short with the story, but. Basically, my team and I, same team as Lalli, we started a company about 8 years ago, and it was we built the leading e-commerce gateway. What we ultimately did is we were one of the inventors of the buy button, giving people the ability to buy natively anywhere. And we had this mission of democratizing commerce. How do we give everyone in the world the ability to connect with each other and buy and sell natively anywhere? How do we take, something like Instagram and Pinterest and all these news publications and blogs and let people buy right there? And my thesis was that the best products would rise to the top and the best sellers would make the most money. Sort of, I think that was the dream of Cosmic. I was like 22 years old, and clearly, there was a lot of learnings along the way. But a couple years in, I was at a bar. Crashing on couches in New York, pitching to merchants, selling the dream. And I bumped into Ryan Shea, if you know him. Mm-hmm. And I'd never met him before. Former co-founder of Blockstack. Yes. And so I bumped into him, and he had just sort of gotten into Bitcoin at the time. And I was asking him what he was into, and he was telling me about Bitcoin. And he had that moment that I think a lot of us have had where he was just so inspired by the principles of it and was explaining it to me. And everything he said resonated so deeply with me because of what I was building with Cosmic. Bitcoin is the democratization of commerce directly tied to a currency. And we've never seen that in the entire world. It's like an asset that everyone in the entire world, with an internet connection can own. And everything that we were building with Cosmic was working towards that. So we actually spent a little bit of time. I wouldn't say we pivoted at any point, but we tested the market by going to a lot of our top merchants and saying, hey, would you want this as a payment tool? Because, we were dealing with buy buttons and hooking into 90 different payment gateways. So we were at this core of payments, and merchants just didn't want it. There was no demand for it. As interesting as I thought the technology was, the volatility really, is still an issue. And So we sort of, I kind of learned then that Bitcoin I didn't think was going to have the pervasiveness that a lot of people thought it was going to have in the payments world, even though it was amazing with no intermediaries, with direct transfers, no middlemen. I think that it still has incredible principles for medium of exchange in the future, but as of today and as of 5 years ago, it was not the best medium of exchange. So anyway, fast forward, we ended up getting acquired by our biggest customer, which was Pop Sugar, to come in and power 1.2 billion in retail revenue running through ShopStyle, one of the largest e-commerce shopping sites in the world at the time. So we ended up coming in there. We grew about 10x post-acquisition. Really, I think, proved the demand for what we were building. And about a year in, Ebates, the largest cashback company in the U.S., came and bought us away from Pop Sugar in a divestiture. And so we were at Ebates, the biggest cashback company, for a year, and gave them our technology. We got to learn their business model. We got to learn how their technology works. I got to meet just about every retailer in North America through the combination of Cosmic, through ShopStyle with a lot of fashion merchants, and Ebates with a lot of mass merchants. So after about a year, we parted ways, and I just kept coming back afterwards to this idea of the biggest problem with Bitcoin was distribution. A lot of my friends that had gotten into it because they had invested. Very few had gotten into it because they mined, and none of my friends that had gotten into it easily. It was always like they had taken a big risk. They had survived a bear run. It was like not pretty, and I wouldn't recommend it to my sister, my mom, my dad, my friends from back home. And I think even to this day, I've never recommended anyone buy Bitcoin. So I ended up kept coming back to this idea of cash back, but for Bitcoin as a way to distribute Bitcoin to more people and set people up with wallets. So I reassembled my team with a very similar dream, and we ended up launching about 6 months later. I was, unlike 5 years ago, I was amazed with the amount of merchants that we got in the first 6 months. One, because we had a lot of the partnerships already and we had made them a lot of money over the last 8 years. But two, I think they were really interested in Bitcoin, but couldn't quite rationalize using Bitcoin as a payment mechanism, but they could use it as a reward mechanism.
All right, we're going to discuss how this works on the back end in a moment, but first a quick word from the sponsors who make this show possible. Are you interested in getting into the cryptocurrency markets but don't know where to start building your portfolio? eToro has the answer for you. It's called CopyTrader by eToro. With CopyTrader, you can automatically copy every trade of eToro's top crypto traders at the exact price in real time. No need to study up on markets or develop your own strategies. Simply sign up and copy the trader of your choice. Any profits they make, you do too, proportional to your investment. With eToro, you get access to the world's most popular cryptocurrencies with transparent trading fees, all in one easy-to-use app. Copy the smart money with eToro. Join now at eToro.com. That's eToro.com. Crypto.com sees the future of cryptocurrency in every wallet. Have you seen the MCO Visa card? A metal card powered by crypto, loaded with perks including up to 5% back on all your spending and unlimited airport lounge access. They pay for your Spotify and Netflix too. What's not to love? With Crypto.com, not only can you spend your crypto, but you can grow it too. Earn up to 6% per year on the most popular coins like BTC, XRP, LTC, and up to 12% per year on stablecoins like PAX or TUSD. Just a few taps before you start receiving interest every week. Join the over 1 million others and download the Crypto.com app today. Back to my conversation with Alex Adelman of Lalli. How does this work on the back end? I'm presuming the merchants don't actually have Bitcoin on hand to give you as a percentage of each of the purchases. Are you just constantly buying Bitcoin to transfer to your customers?
Correct. So our merchants pay us in US dollars at this point. The beautiful part about the business model is that it scales, I think, way faster and easier than a cashback system. So to start, we have to work with the archaic rails that we're given. But the beautiful part is that retailers can pay us in any currency, and we can give out into the currency that has the most value for the consumers, which for our customer, it's Bitcoin. And because we can distribute it anywhere in the world, hypothetically, that makes it really easy for Lalli to scale. So over the first year, I think, part of my learnings from my last company with Cosmic is that focus is everything in building, a company. And we've really focused on the US to drive as much GMV for merchants, our top merchants in particular, as possible, to really build up leverage. And it's part of a long play, I would say a 5 to 10 year play of building up trust with the merchants and proving value and ultimately having leverage. Because in 2, 3, 4 years, I would love to go to Walmart. I'd love to go to booking.com. And I would love to say, hey, we've driven you $100 million in revenue. This is Bitcoin is real. The demand is real. And we want to offer a way more efficient, frictionless method of payment, and one that serves you, one that you don't have to use the credit cards companies, you don't have to use the banks for fulfillment. You can accept Bitcoin. You can do it with little to no fees, whether that be through the Lightning Network or whatever exists at that time. And we can make a really easy way for people to not only be rewarded in Bitcoin, but also for people to pay with Bitcoin and remove a lot of the underlying tax that we don't even know about on fiat rails.
And the way that you do it is you wait to transfer the Bitcoins until after the return window of that particular merchant. So, in many cases,
Correct.
People don't receive their Bitcoin until like 30 or 90 days later. But so obviously, because Bitcoin's volatile, let's say I purchase something for $100 and then your service promises me 5% of that purchase back. And so I'm supposed to get $5 worth of Bitcoin back. But if between the time I purchase and the time I actually get my Bitcoin from Lalli, let's say that the price of Bitcoin doubles, then how much Bitcoin do I receive? Do I get $5 worth based on the price at the time that I bought, which would be worth $10 by the time I get it? Or will it be $5 based on the current price, which would then be $2.50 of what I actually spent?
Yes. So it basically, it really depends on the merchant. Some merchants pay out immediately. It really depends on the return period. So if a merchant has a 30-day return period, then you'll get your Bitcoin after 30 days. And I think
right. But did you understand my question?
Of course,
like, let's
yeah.
say within the 30 days, the price of Bitcoin doubles.
Right. So I think a lot of our users just are excited it's one of those things where they believe in the principles, and so they're getting Bitcoin back. So, but it could also dip, it could increase. So really it's like you're getting your Bitcoin back whenever the merchant pays us. So I think that's like most of our users are okay with it. Very few, they ask questions and then they're okay with it.
Oh, okay. So it's based on when the return window closes, not when you actually make the purchase.
Correct. There's some creative ways in the future that we're planning for right now that we haven't announced or released yet, where we can minimize our risk. Because really, if we buy it and then somebody returns it, we are held with the risk. And due to the nature of us being just a small startup, I think it's really difficult unless we want to go raise an absurd amount of capital and basically build a bank on top of Bitcoin from day one and dilute ourselves into oblivion. There's really not a lot of incentive to get really creative on the financial side yet. When we get to scale, I think that there's going to be more creative ways. Like the more shoppers we have, the more merchants we have, the more money flowing through the system that we have, the more we can do to reward immediately. And then clearly, you wouldn't get that Bitcoin, but at least it would be locked in at the price. And then if you don't return, then you get the Bitcoin at that price.
Okay. And one other thing I want to ask about your business model, because similar services like Ebates and Honey collect personal data. What is your business model? Where do you make money on this?
Yeah. So to be very clear, we do not make money on selling data, and we never will. I think it's really important to understand. I think that's one of the funniest things of working at Ebates is people's misconception. They're just like, it sounds too good to be true. And that was the biggest problem with their business. And granted, they built a $5 billion business. But it was almost it was too good to be true was like sort of the feedback, like, where am I getting this money? Are you selling my data? And the real answer is like, I can't speak to Ebates, but Lalli does not sell data. We're not incentivized to sell data. I think we would lose the majority of our customers if we ever sold data. And clearly we'd have to disclose that if we sold data at any point. I think in the future, people, I look at like the control of data as people being able to opt in or opt out, and people might want to earn more by sharing certain parts of their data that would be aggregated and anonymized. So I might share that I am between the ages of 20 and 25 and that I'm a male and that I live in the US. But I wouldn't want to share any more information, and thus I should be able to share that and monetize off of that data. So that's how I look at the future of data control. I hope that we play a big part in setting a precedent for data control and data management, and ultimately personal data monetization. But at this point, no, we only make money from our merchants. We do not make money from selling any data. And if as long as I'm in control, we never will. We actually don't even store the vast majority of it because we don't want to even be responsible for it. Our merchants are literally just paying for the customer to transact, and that's the only piece that we need to let the merchant know that user 12345 is buying on site X, and they need to get rewarded in that moment.
So earlier when you said that about 50% of your users are new people who never held Bitcoin before, how do you know that?
A lot of it is from customer support and seeing, like, we get a lot of like requests that we categorize internally as like what type of user that is. And so I think it's like a creative way of trying to figure out who our user base is. And we can say like there's very clear names that are like female names and male names. And so our estimate there is around 30% of our users we estimate are female, and clearly 70% are male. And then
I think that, am I right in thinking that might be one of the highest percentage of female crypto users amongst other crypto companies?
I think the last public data that I saw, which I am not sure how accurate it was, but it was, I think it seemed like a reputable source. It was 4% was the average crypto project was female, 4% female. So I think if we are right about this 30%, which I think we're probably off by maybe at most 5 to 10% up or down. I think that it's
5 to 10 percentage points or 5 to 10%. Like a variable of 5 to 10% between 30% of 30%. So it would, like, I think at its lowest we're probably 20% female, and at our highest we're probably 40% female. Okay. And one other thing is that you did say that theoretically this could be done anywhere in the world, but in your FAQs it says that you only support the US, which I didn't even know what that meant. Like, does that mean that that only US businesses are your partners, or only people with US shipping addresses can sign up, or is this for US citizens, or what does it mean that you only support the US? And why, if theoretically this can be done anywhere in the world?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I think that the biggest thing is focus and scale. We are a small startup. We made a decision not to raise an absurd amount of money to start to scale this thing. But if you look at us as just a startup, remove the Bitcoin side and remove the economies of scale that we have over the next several years from working on top of Bitcoin rails instead of fiat rails, there's a lot of exciting advantages there. To start, we're a small startup, and I would love to see an example of a startup that is in structure similar to ours that has scaled internationally from day one. So the biggest thing is, like, when every country that we go to, we have to deal with new financial regulations in those countries. The beautiful part about our business is that we don't have to deal with the independent banks for each country, because if you think about the model for Ebates, they're limited by the banking partners to do like ACH transfers or to do big fat checks, if you're familiar with their model. And, if people wait, they get 4 checks every quarter, and you get your big fat check in the mail, and that's sent by, a banking partner. And so there's so many things that have to be put in place every time they scale to a new country. And so it actually inhibits their business from scaling quickly. I mean, they're a $5 billion company, and they're only in a few countries to this day. So
I think it was $4 billion, by the way, that they sold for.
They sold for $1 billion, but what they're valued at, the estimated value internally, Honey was just sold for $4 billion.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Good.
Okay. Thank you for correcting me.
Oh, of course, yeah. I think it's like a niche space, so I'd be surprised if anyone was really following it over the years. But I've been in the space for a while and been following it very, very closely.
Yeah, but and so then, can you define what it means that you only support the U.S.?
Oh, yes. Sorry. So we only support U.S. Citizens right now because that's what we're legally required to do, and we're trying really hard to be compliant, like legally compliant, so that we can scale. I think that's incredibly important for any crypto related business right now, and we're intentionally waiting on the merchant partnership side too, because we don't do any sort of schemes or hacks. We work directly with merchants. We do need merchants that are international as well. So that's the other component. Luckily, I've worked with a lot of Canadian merchants in the past. I've worked with a lot of European merchants and Southeast Asian merchants from the last 8 years. So we have the relationships. Now it's about actually establishing the partnerships and then localizing our sites. And then, of course, fraud is a little bit is not a little bit. It's higher when you go outside the U.S. In a lot of cases. So we have to be mindful because if you look at a lot of these reward type businesses, fraud is a big issue, and we learned a lot of I think industry secrets that a lot of people who are just building businesses in the space do not know, that Ebates is a fraud detection company. It's a rewards company, but part of the thing that makes it so unique is they're incredible at fraud detection. And those are some of the practices that I think break these businesses early on. And we have to be mindful when we scale this business internationally to be mindful of that. The other piece is, regulation. So, getting FinCEN licenses in Canada is a big thing. And a lot of it you can self-attest, but in some countries you can't. So making sure that when we scale internationally, we want to see that. I think the exciting part about our business is that we've built it very much in public. We are very active on Twitter. If you follow us there, it's Lalli is the handle. And we have a massive international following. So the demand is there, and we are scaling internationally. The goal is January 2020 to launch our next country in 2020.
Okay. And you guys actually did announce a partnership with Alibaba, but you didn't actually have a partnership with them. So what happened there?
So no, we did have a partnership with them. And if you kind of look at
but they said that you didn't.
Look at how they said it. I don't want to get into the legal battle clearly with Alibaba, but there was a lot of creative wordsmithing there. So if you look at the final article on Cointelegraph that published our response to their denial, I think that it makes it very clear. We have clear legal documents that show that we had a partnership with them. And if you look at everything going on in the last 3-4 months with China and everything they're doing to ban crypto, Bitcoin, and as they push their own native government currency, I think you can kind of put 2 and 2 together and see really what actually happened. And I think it's really interesting to see the sort of the censorship of media that we saw, at least, and just straight denial of facts that we presented. So I think some journalists had to publish what Alibaba told them, but we presented clear facts that we had a partnership with them. And yeah, when we had been driving sales, tens of thousands of dollars of sales to AliExpress, which is clearly owned by Alibaba Group, for the last 3 or 4 months as we were testing our first Chinese partnership. Then we launched on Singles Day with Alibaba.com, and we did it through an agency that represents them and gave us full rights to use the Alibaba.com brand. we have had a direct partnership, or we had a direct partnership with them for 3 or 4 months. Whether that they communicated internally at their one of the biggest companies in the world, I don't blame them for not communicating properly. But it was a crazy week. I'll say that.
Okay. All right. Well, we're way over time, but one last very quick question. Right now, you only offer Bitcoin. Is there a plan to offer any other cryptocurrencies?
I'm waiting for another cryptocurrency to prove itself to be more valuable than Bitcoin. I'm in no way dogmatic. I try to keep a very open mind, but I think Bitcoin is the best long-term store of value, and the most technologically advanced and distributed at this point. So, we're in the business of giving people something that they value. And so if we just offered a bunch of coins that were going up and down, I don't think that would be a very good experience. So right now we're hyper focused on Bitcoin. I am a big believer in Bitcoin. Over a long period of time, I think it will serve its value to society. And I think in a lot of ways it's already served its value to society. But in the future, if something comes along that is better than Bitcoin or proves value to society in a deep way, I would consider it.
Okay. All right. Well, it's been great having you on the show. Thank you for coming on Unconfirmed.
Thank you so much for having me.
Don't forget, next up is the news recap. Stick around for This Week in Crypto after this short break.
Will the world follow France and advocate banning privacy coins? Will government-backed stablecoins become the new fiat? Are distributed and peer-to-peer exchanges just a flash in the pan? The answer is maybe. Virtual currencies can flourish and create a new, private, and more versatile economy. But that grand vision can't happen without keeping crypto clean. And that requires support of governments and accountability for bad actors. Privacy-enhanced compliance using cryptographic controls has the potential to preserve anonymity without compromising legitimate investigations. CipherTrace is working on this vision of the future. Sign up to stay up to date on the Privacy-Enhanced Compliance Initiative and receive authoritative crypto AML reports quarterly. www.ciphertrace.com/keepcryptoclean.
Hi, guys. Thanks for tuning in to this week's news recap. Just wanted you all to know that I'm recording this on Wednesday, so if some major news breaks Thursday, well, I guess I'll cover it next week. Also, I wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to all my U.S. listeners. I hope you had a wonderful meal and took a moment to think about what you are grateful for. I am thankful to all of you for listening, to my sources for sharing their expertise and time, and to my amazing staff, Chris, Anthony, Dan, Josh, and the team at CLK Transcription. Now on to the show. The first headline this week, Vitalik on hard problems in cryptocurrency. 5 years ago, Vitalik wrote about 16 hard problems in cryptocurrency, and last Friday he revisited the problems to see how the solutions to them are progressing. Scalability was number one, and he says that since 2014, there's been great theoretical progress, which is pending more real-world evaluation. He also says ASIC-resistant proof of work has been solved as far as possible. If you're interested in the technical details on some of these other issues that have had less progress, definitely check out his post. Bram Cohen, creator of BitTorrent and Chia, took Vitalik to task, picking apart some of his points, beginning with, quote, "For blockchain scalability, Vitalik talks about on-chain scaling with sharding as the only option. Of course, it isn't the only option. Payment channel networks are much more appealing in many ways and are becoming a real thing." Mustafa Al-Bassam had some good rejoinders to Bram. Reasonable people realize that only scaling layer 1 or layer 2 and not both is dumb. Only in the Bitcoin space there are layer 1 and layer 2 opposing tribes in the community. Next headline, tribalism. Incoherent, nasty, and immature. Without getting into too much detail on this, the response to Vitalik's blog post basically devolved into this conversation about whether or not Ethereum is a scam. Normally, I wouldn't even cover something that's not only not news, but essentially a baseless claim. But it's Thanksgiving, so why not just give voice to a sensible opinion? Placeholders Chris Berniski tweeted, "Tribalism is the biggest drain on crypto's human resources that I see today. Tribal toxicity drives newcomers away, has caused valuable talent to leave the industry, and clouds the thinking of the committed. To those that aren't deep in crypto, we all look like part of the same movement. It makes no sense that a movement attack itself. We end up looking incoherent, nasty, and immature. Who wants to join such a movement? Meanwhile, traditional finance is trapped in a negative interest rate experiment. Capitalism is no longer working for the majority, and faith in our institutions is crumbling. A perfect opportunity for us to onboard more contributors, and yet instead we sit here bickering. He concludes, lastly, unless something is provably a scam, move on. Blockstream is not a scam, just as Ethereum is not a scam. Someone having different subjective values than yours does not equal a scam. The market will do the rest. Save your time and energy for more valuable contributions. Next headline. The Binance Shanghai office. What really happened? After the block reported last week that Binance's Shanghai office had been raided by police and then closed, Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao threatened to sue the block. Eventually, the block had to walk back the bit about the police raid, but stood by its assertion that there had been a Shanghai office that had been closed. First, let's discuss whether or not the office existed. Brenna Smith of CryptoCent did some digging and concluded that one of the offices was registered to Bobby Finance, which has some of the same executives as Binance, including co-founder and chief marketing officer Yi He. She concludes, quote, Binance did have a hub in Shanghai through Bobby Finance. Though the police did not raid their offices, the block's underlying reporting holds up despite their misuse of words, as PBOC authorities did visit the office based on reports from the Shanghai state-run media. Now, let's turn to the threat of lawsuits. Fortune's David Morris said this about the kerfuffle, quote, the absurd contortions by Binance make just slightly more sense in light of pressures from China's government. Binance is officially based in Malta, but Zhao was born in China, and the company appears to be working to expand the business there. But the lack of clear rule of law in China makes such expansion subject to the whims of CCP leadership. That means the Chinese Communist Party leadership. And the raid/visit came just days after the People's Bank of China ordered a crackdown on crypto scams and exchanges. By pushing back on the block's reporting, Binance may somehow be hoping to curry favor with Chinese authorities. Finally, this week's fun bits. I actually have two stories for you. The first is a cryptocurrency explainer for your friends and family. In case you're still hanging out with your friends and family, hopefully you are. Hopefully politics didn't drive you all away from each other. In case you want an easy cryptocurrency and blockchain technology explainer for your friends and family over the holidays, you can hear me explain it on this segment on Marketplace, which hilariously my actual friends heard and texted me about. The link to that is in the show notes. The second fun bits story for this week is a journalist tries to relive 2017 to mixed results. If the Marketplace segment gets your friends and family intrigued, they might enjoy this article, Cryptocurrency Will Not Die, by a reporter for GQ, Rosecrans Baldwin, trying to understand what crypto is about. He tells the sorry tale of some traders who rode the 2017 wave up and then crashed down in the 2018 to 2019 downturn. That's it for this week's news. To learn more about Alex and Lalli, as well as to read the stories from this week's news recap, be sure to check the links in the show notes of your podcast player. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a top rating or review on Apple Podcasts. That helps other listeners find out about the show. Unconfirmed is produced by me, Laura Shin, with help from Fact Recording, Anthony Yoon, Daniel Ness, Josh Durham, and the team at CLK Transcription. Thanks for listening.